Good morning, and welcome to the Growing Your Mindset podcast with Adam Diaz and Justin Hoke. We are in Wisdom Wednesday. So glad to have you all with us this morning. And if you've been tuning in earlier this week, we see that Justin is not here. Justin is actually in Florida in Disney World right now with his family, having a family vacation. So hope he's doing wonderful over there, enjoying that. Good morning to everybody. We are joined here by my good friend and longtime brother, Isaac Smith, Mr. Supremely Happy himself. How you doing today, Isaac?
Man, I am supremely happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise, and $100 billion stronger in Jesus' name. Thank you for asking, Adam. What about yourself?
I love that. I'm gonna have to start using that one.
Yes, sir. It's
Man, I'm
free.
doing so great.
It's not copyrighted or trademark yet, so you welcome to use it.
Yes. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Brian, Kimberly, everybody that's here. Julie, so thankful that you guys are here and joining us this morning because we're really talking about a wonderful subject this morning, and it is on the topic of parenting. And I think this has been a really cool week. We've taken a break from our normal things that we're doing in here, and we are kind of shifting a little bit. Since I have Isaac, we talked about what do we want to do, and we didn't really. It kind of spiraled into this organically in a lot of ways. That we first started out with on Monday. We talked about what a man is, and what he isn't, right, and the impact and the responsibilities and really the struggles. But then we also talked about yesterday the marriage relationship and how important it is not only for our own lives and our own communities, but for the nation and the world as a whole. That marriage relationships build, that's the basis of the family, which what we're talking about today.
Absolutely. And but look, I'm excited about this generational wealth part. We live in a time where generational wealth is something that to be desired and a goal to achieve, but many don't understand the generational wealth is a two-part component.
Yes.
And we understand the wealth part, but we fail to understand the generational part. And this is what we're going to be talking about, is the generational part to the wealth.
Yes.
And so I'm excited, Adam, what we're going to be talking about today that's probably can help me and help everybody else with the generational, because that's one of the things that I aspire to have is generational wealth for my descendants, and that means I need to be a student of both aspect, the generational, which is my children, and then the wealth, which is either wisdom, finance, is encompassed everything, asset, real estate, land, businesses, and all of that. That's the wealth part. But the generational part is our kids, our descendants, the kids that we adopt, the kids that may be in our community, just any kids that we take on the responsibility for. That's the generational part that most people do not focus on. I have yet to hear, a lot of people deal with that aspect is, man, okay, now that I got the wealth, now what about my kids?
Yeah.
So, I think we're going to be able to get into that a deep dive, in at least in the 30 minutes that we have, so.
In this short time here, this idea of generational wealth, I started hearing this word a lot in the last couple of years, getting into more entrepreneur circles and hearing people talk about this. It's a buzzword. We want, what's your main goal? I want to have, generational wealth. I want to have, enough that I can support my family, their families, their children's children. Right. And so many times that actually translates into, I need to make a whole lot of money right now, so I can build, this empire or whatever, so I can pass this down to my children and eventually their children. But you're right. The other part of this is very neglected so many times, this idea of generations, right? Because if we're talking about wealth for generations, we have to have generations in the first place. And so it starts with our children, right? And like, I love that you said this, because it doesn't necessarily have to be our children. We don't have to have children to be influential in the lives of young people. And so many people in my life were not related to me that made a huge impact in my life and have helped me on my course. And so we can't discredit those people. So when we're talking about generational wealth, we're talking about this idea of I think in one sense, like building a strong family and where your children and their children, love and respect and are influenced by you is the generational wealth, right? The money part, I think, is a result of, good business decisions and maturity going through things. But I think if we focus on the generational part, the wealth part will always take care of itself.
Absolutely. And I wanted to read something, and I'm just going to leave your audience with 3 points about building this generational wealth and be very effective in this. Is one is the example that you set before them, and these are not in any particular order. So the example that you set, the words that you speak to them, and knowing that you are not their creator or their owner of them.
Hmm.
So if you can remember these 3 things, you would do great. But I wanted to deal with this first part of not uh, being their owner. So in the 127 division of the book of Psalms, beginning with verse 3, it says, "Behold, children's children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward."
Hmm.
So what it's saying there, Adam, is that we would make investments to get a lottery ticket because it's maybe at $1 billion or $200 million, and we would take our time to drive to a store, purchase a lottery ticket, take the time to scratch it off to see if we won the lottery. But actually, the, God is saying there's a lottery that you can play that will yield greater results than playing the lottery here,
Hmm.
and that is children. He said the fruit of the womb, which is children, are a reward.
Yes.
How are kids reward? Well, go ask LeBron James' mother. Go ask what's the president Donald Trump parents. Go ask Michael Jordan mother. Go ask all these people mother that have done mother and father that have done great things, and they'll tell you my kids have made me very blessed.
Yeah. Yes.
it's
Yeah.
it's what do you think about that, Adam?
Man, I love this idea because so many times we'll hear things or even say them. I brought you into this world and I'll take you out of it. and
Right, right,
and we'll say these things half joking, but what we mean by that is that, I'm in charge of you. And when we approach our parenting in that way, I think it does a disservice to ourselves and our kids, because when we look at it like you're saying, like we're not actually owners of our children, like we're just stewards. Like we only have a short time with them, and then they're out, like it or not, right? There's not much we can do once they're reached that age of maturity, and so we only have a short amount of time. And so when we're looking at investing, we're looking at um, gambling. Gambling and investing are very similar in a lot of ways. One is like you're doing it with skill and knowledge, and the other is by chance. Um,
right.
and a lot of times I feel like we don't invest in our kids, but we gamble with them.
Yeah,
And so, this idea of, a lottery, in the sense of we hit it big, like we struck it rich. If we are taking the time and we're putting in the effort and we are, doing all of those things intentionally with our kids, there it's going to return to us. We may not have to have a LeBron being raised in our family or some superstar of some other way to be richly blessed by our children. The reward isn't the money, and the reward is the fulfillment of a good work and a good life, and we get so much satisfaction out of these things, and not to mention the love.
right. And I want to piggyback. You know, as a man soweth, he should also reap. So if you sow good things in your children, you're going to reap that from them. And so the like my mother and father, although I'm not nowhere near on LeBron James or Donald Trump or anybody else level, there, but I bring a level, me, my twin brother, and my oldest brother bring a level of peace, happiness, and joy that my parents tell me that they can't even describe it to me, that how much they are appreciate that we are doing good things in the world. For them to just watch us do good things make them feel so great. They get up with a smile on their face. Like I told my mom and dad, this is I never seen y'all this joyous before. Like they are so happy. And he said, son, the reason why is because I'm proud of you guys. Like I'm really excited and I'm glad to see the work you're doing. People come up to me and say, man, you raised some fine young men and you done a great job in parenting. And my father said, man, that is way better than millions of dollars. And he said that pleases him. And I think that a lot of people um haven't invested in their kids and they turn out to bring them shame, discouragement through their behavior for lack of planning into them. Like my mother and father, they had to do a lot of things with me. They had to, discipline me. They had to correct me. They had to stay on me. My dad had to constantly mold me. He had to constantly instill in me to do things that I did not want to do personally. And matter of fact, Adam, when I was younger, I thought that my parents didn't like me.
Yeah.
They hated me. They did things that I didn't like. Why they're not conforming to what I want. And they was like, no, we're gonna conform you to who your creator wanted you to be. And we're gonna make sure that you please him,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be the best thing for your life.
Man, and when we look at it from this way, and I think it's important for us who have children, and or when we're dealing with children, especially in an instructive or disciplinary way, that we take the time to help them understand like where we're coming from, and that and when we approach our kids and say, hey, like we only have this amount of time, and this is the time is what is the most valuable thing that we can possess, and we don't even know when it's going to run out, and but we only have until you're 18, 19, 20 years old, and then you're going to be on your own, and it's up to me to get you prepared for that in whatever way that I know how. And so when we look at it that way, it comes across so different than, I brought you into this world, and you're going to do my bidding as my minion, or whatever it is, whether that means, I like basketball, so you're going to be a basketball star, or we're all doctors, so you got to be a doctor. And a lot of times we'll try to force our own ideas and those things on our children as if they were our possession, which we're only renting them, so to speak. They're only out for loans right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to the second point of um, the thought of creating good generational descendants is, first we had understanding that they're not your own. You're not the owner of them. Second is the example. Man, I tell you, man, my mother and father was a great example for me. Everything you see me do is strictly from majority of what I seen them. My mother and father was very hardworking, very disciplined people. I'm still trying to be like my dad. My dad is a very, very transparent and vulnerable person. We talked about honesty, transparent, and vulnerability yesterday, but my dad embodies vulnerability. Like he wasn't afraid to express to us the weakness, the struggles that he deals with in this life. He shared, with us that, and he don't mind me talking about it because this is something that he publicly talked about. But before he talked about it publicly to other people, he talked to us about it privately. About he had a problem with porn. And he talked to us about his struggles, and one of the things that he was vulnerable with us, because we never would have known that, like we never seen any of that or whatnot, but and so he shared that with us so that we don't make the same mistake that he makes. And he told us like, hey, here's what you want to do. Never go down this route. Never look at it. If you don't ever look at it, you don't have to ever worry about having a problem. And he said, son, with any sin, never start, because once you start doing it, become easier and easier to do it when you begin the first time. So if you can never just not do it, and that's why I never tried drugs. I tried alcohol, but that scared me so bad that I was like, oh no, that's not for me, and I don't like the way cigarettes smell. So I never I stayed away from those things because the words of my father rang in my ears that
Yeah.
don't try it, don't even start it, and one thing that he told me that if you do, so now he told me that okay, it's better to not even get involved. Now the second part, let's say you do get involved, son, here's a blueprint of what you need to do. He begins to talk about it publicly so that now he can get help. And now by talking about it, he don't have to be doing it in private anymore, because now once you make it public, yes, it's embarrassing, it's shameful, and things like that. And now, but you're able to get the help. People can now encourage you. Now people can hold you accountable now. And he
Mhm.
said that's what Satan wants you to do, is once you do something, he wants you to be so embarrassed about it that you just keep doing it in private. As long as you keep it out of people where they can't see it, you're okay. And my dad was like, no, that's when you're in the most danger you can ever be in, when you are thinking that you got it under control as long as it's in private and as long as it's not hurting anyone. And he said, no, son, it'll always hurt you,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things I realized. And so I try to, when I do something wrong, I try to find people that I can talk to about, that I can get that encouragement. And
Mhm.
that's all from the example of my father.
Man, I love this, this idea of being the change that we want to see in people, being that example. So often we are so quick to point out flaws and faults in people, especially our kids. And if we're not careful, that's all they hear from us. And this idea of example is really important in my life because I want my children to do certain things. I want them to behave in a certain way, but by me telling them to do it that way, it doesn't work. It just goes right off the back, in one ear, out the other. But doing it and showing them makes all the difference. And I'll give you an example. So when when I am dealing with my kids, like, for those who don't know, I think everyone on here knows that I have a gang of them, but we have 7 children. And so it gets a little chaotic sometimes. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed and lose my temper and yell at the kids for something, or do something that I instantly regret, or I thought better after I calmed down. And one thing that I have made it a point, because I want my kids to be humble. I want my kids to be quick to apologize and make things right. But oftentimes, as parents, what we do is we force our kids to say sorry, like that's going to do something, you know. But rather me doing that, I go to my kids and say, "Hey, like I did not handle myself well at all. Just a minute ago, I lost it." I'll tell them, kind of explain why, like this is what happened, and this is why I lost it, and this is what I should have done differently. And what this does is that when my kids do something wrong, they're going to try to do the same thing rather than like make excuses, say it wasn't me. They're denying it. They're trying to blame somebody else. Rather, they're going to own up to it. They're going to apologize, and they're going to try to make it right, because that's what they see in me. That's what they see in my wife. And we try to instill those things, not by instructing them per se, because this is what your father did too. He's telling you these things, but he's saying, this is how I did it. Like, this is it. Like, this is how you live. And when we do this, it makes such a long lasting and profound impact on our children that they start internalizing those things. We can tell them a million times something and it will never stick, but we start doing it, and that is where it's at. That's what really starts resonating with our kids.
Absolutely, man, and that's one thing I want to say, Adam. I have learned a lot, just from watching you parenting, but more importantly, man, just watching your father, man. Just I have to really give kudos to your father because he did a fantastic job, with you guys, having three sons. And one thing I really love about your father is that he's involved even in you guys' lives. He don't say much, but his presence is so powerful. And that's one thing I realize is that, when I think about the power of example, your dad and my dad is like 1A, 1B,
Yeah.
because your dad is so, he's there, he's available, and things like that. And you can tell like how he, it's just being around you guys, and he's not being intrusive, trying to invade, but he's just saying, I'm here if y'all need me,
Yeah.
I'm just around, and I can just tell, just, a good word said, a tree is known by the fruit it bears, and truly I'm able, yeah, Warren, brother Warren, so we be
He's one in a
brothers.
million.
Yeah, but so, brother Warren, if you're listening, man, I just want to say, man, I know I haven't gotten the opportunity to give you your flowers on this subject, but you done a amazing job, a fantastic job, that I'm able to see. I was able to witness myself. Not saying that you guys, your mother didn't do a great job. I'm pretty sure she did because she had to have you guys. So kudos to her too. It just, I was able to see, more of one, and his behavior, and just watch a lot of things. So I appreciate allowing me to see firsthand, into your parenting style that I use myself as well. So
Yes, and shout out to my parents. We're talking about parenting in here. We're talking about um, mindset, supporting our families, and that's one thing that I can say about my parents um, throughout my whole life, that they've always been supportive of me. And even now, whoever's been on the show for any time, they know my mom's always on here. She's the first one that's going to say good morning. And my dad, even though he doesn't make a lot of comments on here, he's always watching. We're always talking about it. And but this goes for everything in our lives. They are very supportive, and I think this is a really good uh, quality to have in your children, or as parents toward your children and toward children in general, that they have so much potential, and that we just need to encourage that. We just need to encourage them to explore and create and get better, but in these constructive ways, right? When we give children too much, I don't want to say too much freedom, but when we give them the wrong idea, like follow your heart, it's like, what does that even mean, kind of thing. We need to make sure that we're giving our children such applicable, things to do, where they are able to like see, it's not just conceptual, this is how we live our lives. And I love this idea of our children and our grandchildren, like being in our children's lives, or our grandparents being in our children's lives, because like you were saying, the impact that my parents have on me, and they're around all the time, and my kids see that, and they see this is how a family should operate. They see that it should be an interaction with your cousins and your aunts and uncles, and these things. I know everybody doesn't have that, but we do have a community, and this is what our kids see in my household. They see this community, they see that we are supported, and that we never lack, because if we're lacking something, someone's going to help us out. And
right.
usually my dad, he's the professional firefighter of the family. He's always helping us with our emergencies, and my mom as well, and so my kids see that, and they know that they can rely on not only their parents but their grandparents.
Absolutely. And Adam, man, you truly, we all are truly blessed. And one thing I want to point out is because of having a mother and father. I sit with a lot of people that has dealt with molestation, rape, a lot of things in their childhood. So they have a lot of childhood trauma, and that carry over into adulthood in their relationship. And so that's one of the things a good parent structure protects the generation from a lot of that, so that when they come into wealth, they don't have to spend all of the wealth on repairing themselves or try to cope with what was done in their childhood. And so I just want to leave your audience with this, is that never build the wealth part before building the generational part. Build the generational part, and the wealth will come through the generation. So I think a lot of times we put our focus on the wrong thing, but the focus should be primarily on my kids and being there available. So if it means that in order to get the wealth part, I have to be away from my home 95% of the time, then I would rather give the wealth up to be there for the generation.
Yes.
Because whatever you deposit into it, maybe even if you don't accomplish all what you need, that's okay. You're passing the baton to them to say, "Hey, look, this is the mistakes I made. If you're gonna pick up this baton, don't make these mistakes. Don't go down this road, and you should end up better." And what I see in my family life, in my brother's life, all of us make way more than what my mother and my father's make combined. All three of us. So what that shows is a progression in time, that if you deposit the right things in your children, they're gonna acquire the wealth. They're gonna get it by default. But you need to put some principles in place for them, that when they do get the wealth, they don't self-destruct.
That's it. That's it. Because I think a lot of times we don't have those principles and we do self destruct before we even get there. And, but it's because we're trying to do wealth generational. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
It's generational wealth. And I've always joked about it because when I talk with people, especially business mentors and this kind of people that are much higher than me in a financial standpoint and a material standpoint, and I'll tell them like I need help in these aspects with my business. I need help with this because I got all the hard stuff out of the way. I got my kids, I got my family life good, I got all my community, everything's good, my friendships are good. It's just that money part, the easy part, is what I'm trying to figure out. And I think this is how we should approach it. Not that building wealth is easy, because it's not. It's a learned skill. It takes a lot of wisdom. It takes a lot of strategy. But when we're focusing on it, we're saying that's the easy part of life, and like raising a family and building community and being an influencer. Like this is what the true focus of our lives should be on, because
Mhm.
nobody on their deathbed says, man, I should have worked a few more hours at the office, right? We hear these kind of things. We hear people, their regrets, they are filled with regret. They're filled with those things, that those missed opportunities they think of. And right now, while we're still living, right now, while you have people that you love, we can tell them, like, we can change those things today. We can be the people that we need to be. We can be accountable to ourselves, and have our families hold us accountable. We can be that example that we need to be, and we can understand that, hey, we're just stewards with these precious souls that we have here, that we're just training up to go out into the world.
Absolutely. And Adam, and going to the last point, which we're going to get into the affirmation. The affirmation that we're going to be saying is something that every household need to adopt. And these are the things that you should be speaking over your children's life. You should be telling them that they are great. You should be telling them that
Yeah.
things don't happen to you; they happen for you.
Mm.
These are the things you should be empowering them, instead of speaking negatively over them. I see this happen so much, man, that a lot of children are damaged mentally,
Yeah.
because of the words that the parents spoke over them. They cannot get that out of their mind. Anytime you speak something, it says life and death is in the tongue. So you can speak life in your kids, or you can
Mm.
speak death into them. So what you speak is going to have impact and a power over them. So allow your words to be something that is able to build up, even in the midst of, even when they frustrate you. Just remember that, hey, this is just only a moment. You've been there before.
Yep.
One bad mistake from your children does not determine their destiny in
Yep.
life. So
Yep.
the reason why they're making a mistake, because they need you to guide them. That's why they're in your custody, because they're going to make a million mistakes. But it's your job to help them see that this mistake, okay, let's learn from it, let's grow from it. What is the lesson that we can take from this? And as parent, that is our job and our duty in our children's life, is really to help guide them and navigate through this thing called life.
Man, and we're about to get into these affirmations, and I want to touch on this before we go. And I apologize for going overtime for everybody, but this is really important because words mean things. Words have impact in our lives. This idea of sticks and stones can break your bones, but words never hurt you. It's not correct, because the words that we use in our own self-talk, our own thoughts, but the words that we use toward our children, the thoughts we have toward our children, these things are so important that we guard our minds and that we guard the things that we speak, because this is why we do our affirmations. This is why we do these every day, because we want to make sure that the words and the thoughts that are going into our minds and that we're speaking out into the world are positive. Because, if we want positive things to happen in our lives, we have to, reciprocate that by saying positive things and thinking positive things. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into these affirmations today, and we will wrap up with them. Let's go. So, I am committed to my growth.
I am committed to my growth.
I am loved, appreciated, blessed, and highly favored.
I am loved, appreciated, blessed, and highly favored.
Challenges are opportunities for me to improve.
Challenges are opportunities for me to improve.
Every day, I am getting better and better.
Every day I am getting better and better.
I am my best investment.
I am my best investment.
Life happens for me. Everything is for my growth and benefit.
Life happens for me. Everything is for my growth and benefit.
I am an action taker.
I am an action taker.
I am committed to being the most positive person that I know.
I am committed to being the most positive person I know.
I am a fixer. I am somebody's answer. When you get me, you get everything that I'm connected to.
I am a fixer. I am somebody's answer. When you get me, you get everything I am connected to.
All right, I'm going to try this one here, Isaac. I am healthy. I am supremely happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise, and a billion strong in Jesus' name.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am supremely happy, healthy, wealthy, wise, and $100 billion stronger in Jesus' name.
Let's go, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for all of your participation, all your comments today. I hope this episode has been impactful for you and it's given you a lot of food for thought. It's one of the most important things in my life right now is my children and my family. And I don't think this will ever change, even though there's seasons that happen. But it's one of those things that even if we're not parents, like we have people in our lives that look up to us, and we need to make sure that we are preparing for those generations to come.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So tomorrow we are actually going to continue this vein, and we're going to be getting onto the subject of friendship and how we can be good friends in this world to those people that really need us and that we need also. And so we're going to jump into friendship next time tomorrow, 7:30 Central Standard Time. And thank you all for coming on. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And Isaac, tell us where we can find out about your stuff some more.
Oh yes, it's on the J.O.L network on YouTube. Just put J.O.L network on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and you can get pull us up easily. But Dear Daddy, part one drops Sunday. Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, part two will be dropping the following Sunday after this Sunday, and you don't want to miss it. It is amazing. I got people want a preview of the part two. They want me to go and release it early. I said, nah, we're gonna allow it to come back out. So every 2 weeks a new part to all the way up to 12 weeks. 12 parts. So every 2 weeks a new part will be coming out on the J.O.L. It's gonna be on the YouTube channel there. So if
All
you haven't
right.
seen Dear Daddy part one, which is debut Kevin, you want to go check it out on YouTube, J.O.L Network, there on the YouTube channel, and go to the playlist that says Dear Daddy, and you'll be able to watch part one.
Awesome. And for you that didn't catch what this Dear Daddy is, it's a book that is all about the different struggles that men and fathers go through. I just dropped the link for Isaac's YouTube channel. Please go over and check him out. Give him some love if you are enjoying what he has on there. And also the video for Dear Daddy Part 1 is the last thing that is in there. So check that out if you haven't. It's a few minutes, 15 minutes long, 14 minutes long, and it was really powerful, really impactful, and I think it's going to do a lot of good for a lot of people. So Isaac, thank you so much for coming on with me today, and we will see you all tomorrow. Thank you
Yes,
guys so much.
sir.
Thank you guys so
Yes,
much
sir.
for being here. All right, have a good one.
All right.